listening with the dodgy
anyway,
Wi-Fi.
Danny's waiting.
That's us live anyway.
I know, but Danny's going to do the thing. Oh, we're live anyway. Folks, warm welcome. Good evening, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to your weekly edition of Mauls, Balls and All. Joining me this evening is Mike Reedy and Matt Boland. Soon to join us, we will have Jeff Pagano, who's having some slight tech issues. He forgot about Chrome and downloading stuff and all that sort of messing. So Jeff will be with us momentarily. And Richard Holland is, I believe, stuck on the lavatory after having a dirty kebab last night. So he will be along in just a few moments.
God.
Now, can you hear me, gents? Can you hear me, gents?
Yes. Yeah.
Are we all good? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Right now, listen, before we go on to what I was going to talk about, just two things. I was listening, Matt, I'll ask you first. I was just listening. We won't spend too much time on this. I was just listening to Bod, who was on Off the Ball, and he was asked the question, would you start Ringrose over, would you have Ringrose and Henshaw in the centre of the park for the final, as opposed to Osborne and Henshaw? And Bod basically said, yes, I would have I would have Ringrose and Henshaw because Ringrose offers that little bit more attacking format than maybe Osborne does. Would you agree with Bod on that?
Yeah, I would. Like at the moment, like Ringrose is instrumental for Leinster and Ireland. And I'm not saying Osborne isn't a good player. He's a very good player, but I think in terms of the way Leinster play and the way Ringrose plays, he's a better attacking player, but he's also a better defending player as well. So if he's fit and ready to go, I'd start him. I wouldn't have a problem. Now, look, again, it's tough on Osborne to be in the starting squad and then drop, but I mean, you got to play the best team you have possible. And if that's a case of dropping a guy that started the last 5 or 6 games for a more seasoned player, then that's just what has to happen. At the end of the day, the lads are professional. So they understand the competition within teams, and they understand that they mightn't always necessarily be playing starting games, or they're coming on in second half or whatever. But, you know, looking at Ringrose and the history, even in the last couple of years that he's played, he rarely puts a foot wrong. So, you know, Bod is Bod. Like he knows the fucking crack. I'd be with him on that one, I have to say.
Okay. Here's Jeff Pagano.
Evening, lads. How's it going?
How the hell are you, son? You well?
Yeah, Jeff,
not too bad. Surviving. How's it going? You all right, lads?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
Yes.
Oh.
Jeff, with me is Matt. We have Jeff with me is Matt Boland and Mike Reedy are joined us. How are you, Jeff? Glad to have you with us.
Not too bad at all. Yeah. It's great to be with you guys. Looking forward to having a little chat and not be the host for once. I'll let you do all that. Getting serious microphone. Microphone envy as well.
Oh, you've got the proper gear.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Listen, I haven't introduced you, folks. This is, you might know him as J.L. Pagano. His name is Jeff Pagano, right? But he goes by J.L. Pagano. He is the man behind the site and the page Harping on Rugby. He also does a very successful podcast. You call the podcast Harping on Rugby, Jeff, don't you, as well?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's all Harping on Rugby. It's all the same thing. Yeah.
You've been running that for quite a while.
Yeah, and how often? What's the frequency? How often does it go? How often does it go out, Jeff?
We do. The main thing is our rap pod. We do a rap pod every Sunday night. Usually, we record the Sundays usually by the Monday morning. Just wrapping up Leinster or Ireland, whoever's playing at the weekend, wrapping up their game, and we do other things as well. We do a preview show for YouTube and all bits and pieces during the week. But the main thing is like we do about an hour and a half podcast. Just wrapping up the big match for the weekend.
You're a very fucking brave man, Jeff, because you've asked me to come on as a guest on your podcast coming up now, haven't you?
I have indeed. You'll be coming on to wrap up our Ospreys the Ospreys game this weekend. Hopefully that will be less stressful than the last few weeks have been. Anyway, that's for sure.
I'll actually be at the game, Jeff, so I can give you first-hand experience. So there you go.
There you go. Hopefully,
anyway, Jeff,
there you go.
I was asking. We break ourselves in. I was asking Matt before you come on, just a brief one before we go on to the list of topics that I sent you. I just before we come on, I was listening to Bod on Off the Ball, and he was saying he would definitely start Ringrose and Henshaw and leave Osborne on the bench if he's going to go with the 6-2 bench or 5-3 or maybe whatever. He basically said, Jeff, that Ringrose offers just a bit more in attack than Osborne. Osborne and Henshaw are essentially 2 12s. Well, how would you go with that, Jeff, if you were Leo?
It makes sense if you're talking about an absolutely fully fit Ringrose that's been playing through. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, this combination has been playing all through the knockout games for Leinster. They've done well. They've got into a rhythm. It's all about this Nienaber system as well. They seem to have adjusted pretty well to that. But of course, then again, you're talking even considering leaving out Gary Ringrose. There was talk, he has played on the wing. Where else would you put him? Would you have him as a 23 maybe coming on because he's injured? So I'd say, yeah. I mean, if ideally everyone fully fit, I would. Not many people would avoid Ringrose, Henshaw center pairing. But the fact that he's coming back, it's all a question of how fit is he, how much game time can they get in his legs between now and the final. Do you want to change that system, bring him back in, for the game? It's a lot of questions. I at the moment, until I've seen Ringrose play and know how much game time he's going to get, because week to week, we're not sure whether he's starting or whether he's going to get any game time. I would probably stick with what I have because I think Jamie Osborne has actually done that well overall. But it's a tricky one for sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jeff. Mike Reedy, your brief thoughts on this before we move on.
I like what both the lads said. A fit and rearing to go Gary Ringrose is going to be an asset to any team. However, Osborne has been absolutely outstanding in the last few matches for Leinster, and he literally breaks the gain line every carry. And could he possibly play on the wing? Is he an out and out centre? Because I'm not being funny. As far as I'm concerned, Larmour is a bit of a weak link in the team comparative to maybe Osborne and Ringrose. I'd risk him on the wing instead of Larmour.
Well, he could definitely play there. He could definitely play there. Yeah.
He could play
James
there.
Lowe has to play.
Who are you going to shake? James Lowe or Jimmy O'Brien?
Larmour. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually talking about.
You got a bench issue then with O'Brien.
Oh, Jimmy O'Brien is on the bench still because Larmour is a winger and that's all he is.
Go on, Jeff.
Yeah, the 6-2 obviously makes a big difference.
Jeff, did you want to say something there?
And the 6-2 split makes a big difference, obviously, as to what they're going to do. It's like, who do you have on the bench? You obviously need someone versatile there. If I go Keenan's back, it's almost guaranteed it's going to be Frawley playing 23 in that scenario. But Osborne can play the wing. He has since he came up, but he's a big player. He's a big tackler, and he's developed that kind of developed a partnership. I mean, the fact that Nienaber he's gone so public with this defensive system and how he's going to get it working after 15 matches and all this stuff, and that they put the trust in the two of them for these big knockout matches, including La Rochelle. I really think that they do at least have a plan if they can't get Ringrose fully match fit in time for the final to keep them in the center. So we'll just see.
Okay, there's a comment there on your by Gregor Galway, a regular viewer here about your podcast, Jeff. Good podcast from an Ulster fan. There you are now. That's a Jew, Jeff. Dara Weston, as always, Dara Weston. Are you in the press box on Saturday to say goodbye to the RDS Dara West, are you in the press box on Saturday to say goodbye to the RDS ahead of the redevelopment, Peter? I am, Dara. I am in the press box. But I don't think it's our last game. I think our last game is against Connacht in the RDS, Dara. I think. Dara Weston again in Bod. In Bod we trust.
Yeah, there's one more
on
Connacht,
BT Sports talking about. Yeah, that's. Yeah, I thought that, Jeff. Yeah. Here we go. Who's this now? Gregor Gore. At least no dad jokes tonight. That's in reference to our colleague James Grannon. Okay, and one more thing, gents. Someone tweeted this. I saw it there. Mike, I'll ask you first. Now, I don't know if this fella is taking the piss or what the fuck he's talking about. He says it's time to talk about Ireland stepping up into the Rugby Championship, bring Georgia into the Six Nations, and you have a much more even and exciting competition. I don't know if this guy's serious or what the hell he's talking about. Mike.
I think if he's serious, he needs to fucking get his head checked, because that's absolute nonsense. both of those suggestions are nonsense. First and foremost, Georgia are not ready for it. They've proven that they're not quite ready. Italy have turned things around a little bit this season. So and Ireland to go to the nah. I don't want to play against them. I want to play against the traditional Six Nations that we've played for the last 100 and whatever years. I mean, I've been going for nearly 50 years to it, so I wouldn't fancy it changing. So no, absolutely not. Nonsense as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I just wanted to throw a little
We're practically in the rugby championship. We're practically in the rugby championship this year.
Okay, Matt Boland, what do you think of that? Is that a piss take or? All right, gentlemen. Matt.
Load of bollocks. Plain and fucking simple. Load of bollocks. I mean, like, how could you just change all this talk of fucking Italy being kicked out of the fucking Six Nations was always shite for fucking years. And yeah, like they were the brunt of the jokes for losing fucking 20 games in a row or whatever it was, 25 games or whatever the fuck it was. But you got to look at where they are now in the last 2 years, like beating Wales and Cardiff, like a year ago, and then fucking nearly had 3 wins this season in the Six Nations. Nearly beating France, nearly beating Scotland, and
they did beat Scotland.
Nonsense. Or did they beat? I don't think they did.
Beat Scotland. Yeah, they beat Scotland.
Oh, they did. They did beat Scotland. Okay. Yeah, you're right. But you know what I mean.
Right. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
As always, Matt doesn't sit in the fence, and quote, it's a load of bollocks. Jeff, is this guy serious, or is there any merit to what he's saying here about this? It's got to be. I think he's taking a piss. What do you think, Jeff?
I don't know. There's no merit to it. It's definitely not going to happen. I mean, Ireland, we're playing the Rugby Championship pretty much this anyway. We're playing all 4 of them at some point before the year's over. But in terms of an annual thing, it's like, I mean, these things come in waves anyway. You always say, the best team that we have now should go up to this league, and the other, and the team that's crap changes year to year. The 2 competitions should just stay as they are for now. I'm actually all for reforming. If there's some way of maybe getting Georgia involved, they're sort of between the two. The two are too good for the championship. They're not good enough for the Six Nations. But no, not on a regular basis anyway.
Hold on, we briefly lost Matt there, as does happen from time to time. Matt, you back with us? Yeah.
Sorry, lads. Yeah. Peter, fucking Richard Holland is waiting in the waiting room for you. To let me in.
You're on the screen.
Can you hear me?
You're on the screen.
Oh, Richard Holland is.
Richard Holland.
Matt, have you muted yourself again? Yes, I can hear you.
Richard Holland is waiting to get
Where
in.
Is he?
I tried to let him in, but that's why I fucking ejected myself.
I don't see him. He's not there. I don't see him.
Richard,
if you can hear us, try again. I don't see you. You're not coming up.
Grant. Okay, fair enough.
It's not coming up on my screen. Richard, try again. Right, listen, anyway, we move on. No, he's not coming up. Jeff, this is quite common on our podcast. Things tend to go arse ways, but we always get there in the end. One of the main, Matt, I'm going to come to you first on this because the way you came back in, so I'm going to go around that way. The semi-final, this idea of a neutral city, that it's mainly being driven by the English. that there needs to be a neutral city for both semi-finals. They were talking about Lisbon, they were talking about San Sebastian, they were talking about Marseille, blah, 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 and so on and so on. We'll just open with that, and there's other aspects to jump into on this. Here's Richard now. Matt, go ahead. What do you think? This whole argument about a neutral city that the English want.
The English teams are just giving out because they're not good enough to get a home semi-final. The rules of the Champions League are if you win the games, you're entitled to play your home quarterfinals and your home semi-finals. That's just the way it was from the start. You know, you won your groups back then. You were entitled to a home quarterfinal, and depending on who you played, you could have possibly played to get a home semi. The English teams were never that good enough to get to that point. So they're only pinpointing the Irish teams now that are winning constantly in this tournament, and the French teams that are getting home semi-finals. They feel aggrieved by it because they're not good enough. So why fucking change it? Like why have a neutral venue for? They're going to get less people traveling. They're going to get that's another fucking load of bollocks if you ask me. Like fuck off. Just stop fucking changing shit and just stick with what we're doing at the moment. There's nothing wrong with the format. Leave it alone. Fucking end the story.
That fence again, Matt.
Don't sit in the fence. There's no fucking point. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Matt. Jeff.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeff Pagano, your thoughts on this, and there's another tangent we can shoot off on it.
Okay,
someone frozen there, no?
Jeff after freezing on us.
I think he's after freezing. Pete, just move on to somebody else until he gets the shit sorted.
Jeff is frozen.
Yeah, okay. Mike Reedy. Yeah, Mike, go on. Neutral city.
I agree.
For this thing.
I agree with what Matt just said there. It's absolute nonsense. Listen, England do this invariably every time something goes wrong in the game of rugby. They want the goalposts moved to counteract what's
to suit them.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and you know something, it doesn't even work out from it. Nothing has worked. They make all these changes, and some of them are nonsense. Some of them, okay, maybe have a bit of credence, but this is more. I mean, there's all sorts of things you have to consider, like what Matt just said. The cost for people to travel, like en masse. You're going to get two groups of people coming, or four. It could be four different clubs being represented in a city like Marseille. Now, London can cope with this kind of thing, or Paris, but Marseille is coping with four fucking different teams coming on the same weekend. Four groups of supporters. Where are you going to put them all? It's absolute garbage. I just can't believe that they come up. Do you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And you look at the crowd at the game at the weekend, 82,000 at Croke Park. There's
a record for the Champions Cup as well, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, how are you going to facilitate that if you're going to have four teams coming? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, times it by two. It's a different fucking, you know.
Yeah.
It's 164,000 people.
Yeah.
How many hotel rooms are in Dublin?
Not that many.
Using Dublin as an example.
But Dublin couldn't hold it. They couldn't bring in four. They couldn't bring in four teams into Dublin on a weekend. There mightn't even be one of them from Ireland. That's the thing.
You're going to have lads that'll buy a ticket hoping that their team is won it. They're not going to go, fuck it, I'm not going.
I've gone around Europe for football matches, Champions League finals and stuff. And it's not impossible to get tickets or to get accommodation in any of these places. So no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, before you even get to the viability of this happening. Sorry, can you hear me?
What you said to me?
Yeah, go on, Jeff. Yeah, we can hear. No, no, hold on.
Sorry,
Go
go
on,
on.
Jeff.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
before you even get to the viability of it happening, whether it's even going to work or not, it's all about the motivation of this. And this goes way back when we had Irish teams were winning the Champions Cup every year. So there must be something wrong with the format. And let's fix it. And we have meritocracy and all this kind of stuff. They took over the whole thing. It went from the Champions Cup to the EPCR. We had all this going on. And then Saracens won for a few years, so that was okay, I guess. But now it's happening again that the English teams aren't winning, and this is more of a media-driven narrative, I think, that's happening. The media are pushing this, and again, no two English teams get the semi-finals, but they both have to play away. But like we've already said, they earned that by their pool record, and that's the best way to do it. You decide these things on the pitch. And and this whole thing of it can't be a home semi-final. I mean, that doesn't really, you know what I mean? It's you've earned the right to play. You earned the right to play in your hometown at least. And Leinster did it, and Toulouse did it, and like you say, and you have these destination finals. Not everyone's going to travel for that, especially if they've already bought tickets for a final as well. And it's another destination. Destination finals are one thing. Like Milan, you had Bilbao already, and there's loads of cities around Europe that could host a final. But for semifinals, it's not even so much that it could happen. It's the reason it's happening. It's like sculpting a solution that's going to get the English teams, make the English teams seem hard done by it. It's just not fine.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. And indeed, thanks, Matt and Mike. Richard, what are your thoughts on all this?
To quote the great Matt Boland, it's all a load of bollocks. It doesn't make sense. It's even, as I said, I think we said it in the group chat. It's the financial implications of someone who wants to go and follow their team. So they could be in London for a semi-final set. Just use London as an example, and then 3 weeks later have to try and find accommodation in Paris. The amount of crowd alone that just will not travel because they can't afford it. It's the way things are at the moment. Your euro doesn't go very far as it is. So why would you exacerbate that on the fans? You're actually pushing fans away. The English are probably going to say, "Oh, well, this is a great way of growing the game," but it's not. It's not. It's just putting more financial burden on the fans that go to the games week in and week out.
Yeah. I see, gentlemen, there's a comment in there from Joe Lyons. Evening, Joe. It's ridiculous to think that teams would bother to field all starters in a pool games if they knew at the end of it there was no benefit. GB teams bitching, moaning, looking to change for them. Yes, I agree with that, Joe. I think we might all agree with you on that. Hi, Megan. Hi, Gregor. How are you? Yes, Megan, the English are at it again. Also from Joe Lyons again. Also, can you see if South African teams or French teams qualify and games are in Newcastle? They'd not fill a Portaloo, let alone 65,000-seater stadium. Again, see, this is the other thing. I'm going to read just a quote from 2 English newspapers in just 1 sec. Dara West, a neutral venue would suit the English, who usually don't get past quarters and need the money for the massive wage bills their clubs have a paying spoofers $1 million a year. Yes. Sorry, Darren, I'll put your comment there up on the screen. There you go.
See that point he just made?
Now, the other thing...
Of which spoofer do you speak of?
I just say something.
We know what fucking spoofer he's speaking of. Finn Boxy Russell. What? Sorry, Mike. Yeah.
I was at a final a few years ago between Saracens and Claremont, and half the stadium was full of Irish fans, right? Leinster and Munster were both beaten in the semi-finals, so I'd already got tickets for the final, and I went in Murrayfield, and there was, I mean, the Fields of Athenry was being sung during a game between a fucking French team and an English team. So there you go. They wouldn't. I mean, Irish supporters would probably try and buy those tickets on the black market to go and follow their team. I certainly would. I would done. I've done several times. I don't like doing it, but I do it because I like to go. But they wouldn't fill. You're right. They wouldn't fill a stadium. They wouldn't fill the Irish fans travel more than any team in the world.
Yeah, well, we do. We're noted for it. We're noted for it.
Yeah.
We will travel. We've gone
Okay.
back to the glory days of Munster, even the Leinster. We will travel, but I
Yeah.
don't think the French and the English do. Not
Yeah.
nowhere near in as great a number.
If they
No.
start doing that, they definitely won't get 82,000 people at the semi-final.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they won't. Now, gentlemen, sorry, excuse me. Jeff, I want to go back to your point that you made that this is all a media-driven narrative. And to quote from the Times first, I'll go through these really quickly. I think this is supporting your view that it is indeed a media narrative-driven idea. The Times, a neutral semi-final weekend would help to rebalance the tournament, whatever the fuck they mean by that, which is stacked heavily in favour of top pool seeds. Well, of course it is. If you play better, you're going to top your pool. Especially this year's finalists, Leinster and Cities, against English opponents. I think that's a very telling quote from the Times. Jeff.
Listen, I would say that the current format of the Champions Cup is perfect by means. We could discuss that long and hard, but I'm telling you, the way where the semifinals are played is not where the problem is. And the issue, it's interesting that if it's the Premiership clubs that are causing the problems, the Premiership is one of the reasons why we can't get the extra pool weekends that a lot of the fans seem to want. Back to the 6 pools of 4 that we through that, and both the team and the Premiership extra weekends to have those matches, and to have a longer pool base, have more pool matches. They stick with what we have, the condensed 4 matches, and if you're going to do it that way, that's fine, but you need some kind of motivation to win those 4 games and not just coast through to get in the last 16, because otherwise you're just making a mockery of those pool rounds, and there's got to be some reward. I can't think of a better reward than a final for the team that scores the most tries and gets the most bonus points in those pools in the world, and do it.
Yeah. Okay, right. Excuse me, we move on. Mike Reedy, what's going on with... Oh, we've lost Matt, have we? Oh, there he is. No, he's back.
No.
Mike Reedy, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mike?
I'm here. I don't go anywhere.
Yeah, right, Pete.
I think Peter's gone now, is he?
Peter, hello.
He's been gone for a long time.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Can you
Right,
not hear me?
then, what were you going to say?
I don't know what the hell's going on. I was going to say to you, what the hell is going on with Ulster Rugby in your view? And the reason I'm asking is because Max Deegan said no. Ed Byrne chose Cardiff over Ulster, of all fucking teams. They've no number 10. They've no coaching ticket announced. And there's a grey area over who their sponsor is going to be in 2025. Mike.
Ooh. I have serious concerns about Ulster Rugby, right? Going on all that, what you've just mentioned there. I mean, I don't blame Max Deegan for wanting to stay at Leinster. He's getting a good game time at Leinster. So why would he want to move from there, like to go to a what looks like a bit of a shambles? Now listen, Ulster have improved things since Richie Murphy's come in. It looks like they're heading in the right direction, and now they're talking about changing that again and bringing in this fucking... I won't even mention what he is, but he's a South African anyway, and he doesn't meet my approval.
No.
Right, Ed Byrne is a bit of a different bit of an issue. I think we could have done with keeping him in Ireland. I mean, it doesn't make an awful lot of sense to Irish rugby to be letting him off, because we're struggling for props anyway. So I don't know.
No, we've a few coming through, Mike. We've a few coming through. A couple of lads signed for new contracts with Leinster today, and I'm sure the other provinces have props coming through as well.
No, I'm just a little bit disappointed for him because he's young.
All right, okay.
But Ulster are in a bit bother. They're in bother
All
already.
right, Ed Byrne is Ed Byrne is the third one. Okay, Matt, this whole idea, there's several issues going on with Ulster Rugby at the moment. The points I just raised, and probably behind the scenes, that their head honcho Petrie leaving, that they've let go their only dedicated 10, Larry, although he was, or not Larry, Billy Burns, to Munster. Billy Burns, not a great 10 in his own right, but they've let him go for some reason. They have Doak coming in, who's a 9. He's not a 10, he's a 9, coming in to play 10. But also the only province that does get slightly less money from the IRFU are Connacht. I think they get 1.2 million less than the rest of the provinces, but they all get the same money from the pot. So what the hell are Ulster doing wrong?
I really fear for Ulster Rugby at the moment. I don't know what's going on in terms of their financials. Getting rid of all these players, not being able to sign players, signing big players, and then getting rid of them after a couple of months. I really hope that it's not a serious issue, and I hope that nothing happens and Ulster stay with us, because an Ireland rugby nation would be lost with one of the provinces. Do you know what I mean? And I'm at a loss.
We'd be lost if one of the provinces was to crash.
Yeah, if one of them was to not exist anymore, it's a massive thing, and I do worry a lot for Ulster. I do believe the signing of Richie Murphy has kind of helped things. They're starting to play a bit better, but at the end of the day, financial, if it's not making financial sense, you can't have a business and not have money and make money, Yeah. And businesses that don't make money should, and that would be my major concern for Ulster Rugby. I really hope it doesn't come to that. I hope that they're going to be in existence for a hell of a lot longer than the rest of the teams in Ireland. So I really don't know if I had enough money, I'd go.
Well, I tell you, if you remember, but if you remember, this popped up a few months back, and Peter Martin had a simple phrase for it. He said, "It's financial mismanagement." That's
100%.
Yeah,
100% it is.
Anyway, Richard Holland, what are your thoughts on this? Yeah, what are your thoughts on this? What's going on with Ulster Rugby?
To quote an old friend of mine, it's an absolute shit show up there. It's that. I think whoever is in overall charge of it, or the board, or the old saying of the wheel is turning but the hamster is dead, is pretty much the way whoever's running the fucking business up there, because it's an absolute joke. I mean, it's when were the European final against Leinster? How many years ago was that? 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
So they've literally gone off a cliff since that. And it's very, very sad to see. Again, going back to the player situation, this thing with not having a recognised 10, that should have been flagged fucking 24 months ago, 2 years. That they knew the contract was that Billy Burns, okay, he's not a great 10, but for some reason they're letting him go. And as you said, Peter, Doak is not a 10. He's a 9, and a good 9. I'll give him that, but he's not a 10. So him playing out of position is only going to hurt Ulster as well. And on top of all that, but it's sad. It is sad. My dad is an Ulster man. He's very, very annoyed about it at the moment. So yeah, it's a terrible thing to see.
I think we've lost
a few Ulster. We've lost Jeff. Yeah, he was kind of coming in and out and freezing on me for a lot. I don't know if that's him or if that was me or if I was doing that to all of you. I haven't a clue. I don't know. But I guarantee you, gents, when you look back on this, you won't see half of that. StreamYard have great technology to edit a lot of that out. So there you go.
An interesting
what was
point.
I saying? I was going to say, yes. Go on, Mike.
I said there's an interesting comment there from Dara Weston. Mark my words, we'll end up with Qatar hosting the final of the Champions Cup within the next 5 or 6 years. and they'll throw like the EPCR of fucking what a cash.
He could have a point.
He has a point,
Yeah,
and a really fucking point now. Jesus Christ.
I hope not, but he could be. He could well be right.
He could be.
Dara Weston.
He's not. He mightn't be wrong with that.
There's
Unfortunately,
another comment there from Dara Weston, but it's not coming up.
It is, yeah. Mercenaries.
Mercenaries.
I saw that at the end of it. I thought, I'm not fucking reading that. That's directed at me.
Ed Byrne, Centurion for Leinster, more importantly, a prop would have been good to keep around for a few years.
I think
but
so
look,
too.
he wants first 15 game time. Yeah, true. Very true. Okay. Right. Did I ask everyone about the Ulster issues? Yeah.
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 I didn't miss anyone in between the technology fucking going bananas.
No,
I asked
you're
everyone,
okay.
didn't I? Yes. Hello.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
okay,
you did.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, Leinster Rugby. Okay, sorry. Hold on. Here's Jeff. Yeah,
Sorry,
okay.
guys.
Right, Jeff. Welcome back. No, I told you. I warned you in the message, Jeff. I said if the Wi-Fi holds up, it can crash and burn, and it can go fucking arseways some weeks, and other weeks it's
The
plain
nature of the beast.
Don't worry about it. We're well
It depends on
used to it.
Peter put €2.
The nature of the beast. We're well used to it.
Hmm.
There you go. That's it, Jess. Right, Jeff. Welcome back. The other thing where it's going to move on to was actually, Jeff, were you gone for the whole Ulster discussion? What's going on?
Pretty
with Ulster?
much, yeah.
Have you got anything to say about that?
Yeah. The only thing I'll add is that I mean,
Okay, go on.
like the thing, Ulster Rugby as an entity, I mean this in all sincerity, and we all agree that we all want 4 strong provinces, but they have just had no luck as an entity going back to even like as far as 2013. I remember the year where they had a great, they got to first place in the league, and they clinched a home semi-final. That was the year they couldn't play at Ravenhill, and so where do they play? We'll play at the RDS. Who are they playing at the RDS? Leinster. And it's like little things like that. You got the La Rochelle, where they had to play down at the Viva, and the injuries over the years. You've got now the sponsorship and Kingspan. It's like there's a lot of ins and outs happening behind the scenes, we know. And at the moment, it's like what professional rugby organization can do without a CEO, a coach, a proper full-time coach, a sponsor for the stadium, and a fully number 10 all at the same time. It's like it does need sorting out, but they need a break. They need somebody to come in and make things happen for them as well. But it's just it's been terrible to see over the years. You don't like to see it. Like someone else, I think I did hear someone else say, you feel for them and you just wonder what happens next, because without those four key things in place, you can't see them moving forward. They need a CEO to come in. They need to reboot the organization, pretty much from top to bottom. I'd say at this stage, it's worrying going forward for sure.
It's going to be a root and branch operation. I think it's what needs to happen up there.
Yeah. Jeff, do you think Ulster signing Kitsoff was a mistake?
Yes.
I don't know if it was a mistake, because these deals are done. These deals are done up to 6 months before we even hear about them. It's such especially when you're bringing someone up from a hemisphere. So it seems like a great idea at the time, but you don't, they go on to play the rest of their season, and then they move. They've got to settle in. It's the surroundings. I mean, there are NIQs that have. Leinster have had a few in our day. Yeah, Kane Douglas, Stephen Sykes. There are a few that just they just don't fit. They don't fit into the organization. They don't settle in the area. So I definitely wouldn't say it's a mistake. I think if anyone had a chance to sign a signing like that, they'd go for it. But it also needs to be accepted that they sometimes they just don't work out. So that's just another one. That's another example of bad luck Ulster have had.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, Jens, for all those points. Very sensible. And Sarah, would you put Sarah? Is Sarah making tea for everyone, Richard? Or do you just want
She
to
is,
go
yeah.
and
She's
talk
making
to
tea
Sarah?
for everyone. Yeah.
All right, doesn't matter.
But I'll have a cup as well. I like
Thanks,
me
mate.
tea.
Yeah, I like my tea. 2 sugars, please, Sarah.
No,
and
just a
turned
minute.
and stirred anti-clockwise, please.
Tell him to
Now,
fuck off.
right, I'm talking about signings and all that. Jeff, I'm coming back to you because you went AWOL there for about 5 minutes, so I'll bring you into this one in case you go AWOL again. Leinster doing some good business today. Cormac Foley, Paddy McCarthy, Frawley, Larmer, all signing new contracts. A few we've yet to hear about. Most notably, I see Harry Byrne hasn't. If he's in this cycle of re-signing, he hasn't signed his yet. It's a good sign. It's a sign that Leinster are doing something right, getting these lads back on. Max Deegan, of course, getting these lads back. You know, pen on paper. They know what they're doing. They know where they're going. As opposed to the team we spoke about, Ulster, Leinster just seems to be a step or two ahead of the rest on this. Would you agree with that, Jeff?
Yeah, it's just the way things are going down in Leinster now. With all these signings, I mean, they're announcing them differently this year. For the past 2 years, they do it all in one big day of announcements, and there'd be 15, 16 names all announced at once that are re-signed. But they've a new social media team down there, so they're kind of doing the thing. They're doing the thing where they're teasing day announcements and they're getting all that done. So, but with regards to the actual names, I mean, the top of the list would be Deegan. I mean, story on Rugby Pass TV. I've got this exclusive. Deegan's going to Ulster. I mean, you're supposed to have a source for that because the run out now is that this contract was decided months ago. So, but it's good for him. I mean, I believe the hype. I thought he was going, especially when they announced the day before they were signing James Cohan to a pro contract because he seems to be the future. And number 8 could be for Leinster. So I don't know,
true.
but it's overall. Frawley's another one. At 10, he's been, they haven't been playing with 10 at Leinster. So but he's agreed that he's put pen to paper. There's a saying that a full season with a new preseason, and then with the coach.
Jeff, I'll tell you what, Jeff, you're breaking up.
The other names,
Jeff, you're breaking up badly there. You're freezing and you're coming in and out.
Okay.
Of the thing. So hold on, we'll see if we can get
problem.
that signal sorted. Hey, Richard Holland, Leinster doing some good business there.
Yeah, some very good business. The young McCarthy chap, was it this year or last year? He was in the under-20s. He's a definite prospect. He's good. Frawley, look, you all know my feelings on Frawley. He's not a 15, he's a 10. So maybe that is something of a reading into why Byrne hasn't signed the contract. I think Frawley deserves more time at 10. Definitely. Yeah, look, I'm looking at you with envy. I'm a Munster fan, so I'm looking at all this with envy and kind of going, fuck's sake, why can't we have anything like that down there?
Yeah, true. Okay. Matt Boland, Leinster doing good business.
Yeah, look, absolutely. They've been doing something right for a long time. They're clearly they're managing their funds, they're managing everything a lot better than anybody's led to believe, or the fact that Ulster are in difficulty. You just see Leinster just being managed that bit better. There's never any fear of, okay, there's always fear of players going, and I understand why players do leave because they want to be playing more games, and like it would have been a good move for Deegan to go to Ulster if he was going to be starting constantly, if that's what he wanted. But again, clearly he doesn't want to do that because he's stayed on again, and it's not the first rumor we've had of Max Deegan going up to Ulster. So they're clearly doing something right. You know, they're managing the players when they're not playing. They're shifting the teams. They're swaps changing the team so much that players are playing enough to obviously keep them all there. And like that, the just been the management and the funding is all been. It's seems to be working. So they don't need to change it. I feel.
No, I totally agree with you. Yes, Mike Reedy, any thoughts on this?
Well, basically, the Leinster blueprint is the envy of probably every club in the world right now. They're getting a lot more right than they're getting wrong. I mean, I don't agree with signing Snyman or Jordy Barrett, but because they don't, as far as I'm concerned, they're bringing nothing to Irish rugby, and everything is about Irish rugby for me. But for re-signing and giving new contracts to all these young lads is the future. It's the future for Irish rugby, and it can only be a good thing. Now, Munster did a bit of good business a number of weeks ago, 4 or 5 different players. So they're kind of not going to keep up with Leinster. Nobody's keeping up with Leinster, but they're at least they're heading in the right direction. It would appear as well. And Connacht, they're doing okay. Ulster is definitely a bit of an anomaly, you know, at the moment. But I'm really pleased with what Leinster have done, and I'll be honest, I'm pleased Max Deegan is staying at Leinster because he's a Leinster player and he's good enough. He's good enough to be getting a game for Leinster regularly. Like, okay, he mightn't be getting a game at 8, but he can play 6, 7, or 8. So he's there as a cover player, and you don't need any foreigners to come in any position. So no fucking mercenaries.
Okay, you had to get your mercenary fucking drive in there. Yeah,
we should actually start. We should actually start
again. I think.
What minute is he going to say mercenary?
I refrained from it a little bit earlier.
There's a comment there from Dara Weston. All right, I think Dara Weston. I think Burke is booting Jeff out as Jeff has a bigger mic than Burke. Hashtag Mike Envy. I'm not booting Jeff out. I think there's a serious Wi-Fi issues going on.
I think it's at
his end.
Just
go through some of these. URC final in Qatar before I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Sure, look, these things happen. This happened to us. Sure, Richard, we won't need Frawley to play 15 when we have Barrett.
Oh, well, that's true.
Thanks, Darren.
Yeah.
Leinster don't have a massive debt from a stadium redevelopment hanging over them and leased the RDS. It's no coincidence they are doing better financially and put money into development officers, etc. Dara Weston again. End of the day, it's important to keep Irish players in the provinces. Look at the state Welsh rugby is in, with the WRU having no control over privately owned clubs. Yes, okay.
100%.
Very good. One thing, thanks, Dara. Yeah, absolutely. Richard, I'll come to you first on this. It needs to be mentioned because it's inaugural. It's the Women's Summer Series that's kicking off in Parma, Italy this year. The Six Nations Series going from the 4th to the 14th of July. I think it's a great thing for women's rugby. More power to them, and I think we should see more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. From my understanding, it's basically the majority of the players will be coming from the under 20 panel, which is good for them. It's exposure and it's development.
Oh, you're saying that's
good. It's a good thing because at the moment, all of the ladies' games, I mean, it makes no difference whether they're England, Scotland, Wales, France, whoever. They play once a year as a team, and then a World Cup once every 4 years.
Yeah.
So it gives them game time. Again, it goes back to the development, and as we've spoken of this ad nauseum, it's expanding the game to the girl that's 16 in school now and is thinking dropping out of sport, where she might look at this and go, oh, hang on, I might give rugby a try, and she could turn out to be absolutely brilliant at it. That's what I like to see about it. And again, because it's the under 20s, it's development and exposure for them, which they don't get enough of, even compared to their male counterparts in the under 20s. They may as well not exist. So I think it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Good point, Richard. Yeah. Matt Boland, any thoughts on this?
Yeah. Look, I mean, women's rugby needs development, and they're only going to develop by getting them more game time and all this sort of stuff. And if they really want to go down that route, they should be looking at the men's structure and how they're doing everything there and replicate that, because it's working for the men's. Why can't it work for the women? I.e., have summer tours, have autumn internationals, fucking British and Irish Lions women's. Why fucking not? Like, you know, it's only gonna get better. The more they put into it, the more effort. Like, they don't even need loads of funds. You know, it's just about getting them out there, getting them touring, getting them used to playing better teams. When they come to the World Cup, then they'll have better knowledge of the likes of the Southern Hemisphere teams. And again, why can't we have a women's British and Irish Lions?
Yeah, absolutely as well. I agree with that.
Just a quick one, Mike, before I go to you.
The women's seven, so why not? You know,
why not, Jeff? Just a point there, Jeff, who was with us there, just said, lads, Jeff here, he can't seem to get his audio working, so I'll watch the rest on YouTube. That's okay. Jeff, no problem at all. Thanks for letting us know, mate. And
thanks, Emil, Jeff.
Thanks,
Jeff,
for your appearance. I'll chat to you soon, Jeff. Thanks for that, Jeff. These things happen. These things happen, Jeff. These things happen. Dara Weston, I can't seem to click on your comment. Dara Weston, the women's tournament is good for women's rugby, but bad for Cavsons of Dalkey and Donnybrook Fair. Oh, there it is. As everyone will be coming home with Parma ham and Parmesan cheese. Good man, Dara. I expect no less from you. Dara Weston, need to get Jeff on again. I think Jeff was the first rugby Twitter account I followed many, many years ago. Yes, me too as well. Jeff Harper on Rugby has gone many years. I remember following Jeff all those years ago. Harper on Rugby, yeah. Mike Reedy, excuse me. Go ahead before I choke.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I mean, all we've got to do is look at the benefit the Irish ladies had last year. They played in a wee tournament with Spain and I can't remember the other teams that were in it now. But the benefit that they have, like the difference in within 1 year, the Irish women's team, like performing in this afterwards in the Six Nations, was just absolutely night and day. So it can only be beneficial to all the. I don't think it's going to be much of a benefit to maybe England or that they seem to have be ahead of the ahead of the curve anyway. But I definitely think it will benefit the lower the teams that have been lower over the last number of years. So. Absolutely, yeah. Anything that gives them more game time and promotes the game, the women's game, can only be good for it.
But you know, thinking on the British and Irish Lions thing, that wouldn't only help Ireland; it'd help England, it'd help Wales, it'd help Scotland. Do you know what I mean? So, for me, it's a fucking no-brainer. It really, it should happen, and I think I'm going to start a petition to make it happen. Fucking don't
But come here, hold on. I've said this before. If you were to pick a women's Lions combined, of course it's fucking combined, stupid thing to say. If you were to pick a women's Lions team in the morning, the vast majority of them would be English. A starting Lions team. One sec, Richard. A starting Lions team tomorrow would probably have, if I'm thinking about it,
at least 12 or 13 there. So.
Yeah, Aoife Wafer is a blind side. She'd definitely be on it. You'd probably have 12 English players on it.
I would say so, yeah.
You got to look at like the fact that England and France were professional in the women's game far longer than Wales, Ireland, and Scotland.
Even was it last year we pulled the trigger on that?
It's only last year. It's only last year. And if we could say we could get 2 or 3 of the Irish girls onto a tour in British and Irish Lions after 1 year of being professional, that's a fucking good result.
Yeah.
Let's
I agree with that.
Think about this. Not much more than a year ago, they were going to pick a men's Lions team, and people were saying to be as many as 12, 14 Irish players in that team starting. So it's not that it's not that outlandish to have an English-based women's team. Let's go and be competitive. But if they were only going as even in the squad, what they would learn being coached by different coaches and playing with different players, getting any kind of exposure to playing with like players from England or from the other nations, it can only be good for them.
Mike, I agree. I agree with your sentiment, but you also have to be. You can go be competitive all you fucking want, but you've also got to be realistic. That Ireland, Scotland, Wales they're not at the same level as France or England or New Zealand. If you want to bring in the world stage or New Zealand or Australia, the Wallaroos.
I would put a caveat on that. Just at the moment, we're not. But as Matt said, it's only
at the moment.
It's only a year ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Dara Weston, we do have women's lines next year, Matt. Hopefully, the girls in green have a better Six Nations next year and get more seats on the plane to
Oz. There is.
Must have missed right.
Yeah.
Just a God.
There's
Jeff,
already, Irish women.
There you go.
There you go. Jeff Harper on rugby. Irish women qualifying for Rugby World Cup 2025 was huge, but what's crucial now is what happens next. Need to capitalise on growing the game at underage and club level. Yeah, totally agree, Jeff. Absolutely.
No, it's just
Joe Lyons,
just on that, Peter.
Yeah, go on.
The IRFU, 7 or 8 years ago, made a decision with the upcoming Olympics to concentrate on the sevens game with the ladies. This is what they were aiming at. So I think this is the hangover of that now. This is where the kick on is coming in, that the 15s game was effectively neglected for 5 or 6 years. When we were winning Grand Slams, all of a sudden we're not, because the 15s game was effectively ignored in favour of the sevens game in the Olympics.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. Very, and do you know what, Richard? If the 15s game was, it's not an Olympic sport, is it? The 15s game, no. It's not. Yeah. If the 15s game was an Olympic sport, it'd be a fucking totally different story. Okay, last comment before we just move on, because we're, as always, we're fucking, as I say, time flies when you have fun. Joe Lyons, lads, in all seriousness, we've not pulled the trigger when the players are only on 30k per year. They still have to be supported by family or jobs. It's still very much amateur. Yeah, good point, Joe. Right. As always, Joe Lyons makes sense. Yeah. Right, Richard Holland, to you first. A very straightforward question. I know it changes, I think, next year for Leinster, but in general, should there be more rugby matches played in Croke Park?
On that performance, yes. Now, obviously, I know there was problems with lads getting into the ground and this, that, and the other. Those are organisational problems that can be solved. But from what I've seen, it looked like it was a massive success. So, yes, that's, of course, if the GAA are open to it.
Okay, but in general, you should think that more games should be played in Croke Park.
Yes.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, look, I mean, look at the weekend that's just gone. Leinster, Northampton, a record for the Champions Cup in attendance ever, 82,300 people. Why not? Like, as long as the GAA are open to it, as long as the fans will travel. It was easily to see on Saturday the effort that went in by the fans to get to Croke Park. It's not that far, it's only across the city, but it was clear there was fucking people everywhere, and I'd say half of the people weren't even going to the match. There's lots of people in pubs that were just staying in pubs over on the north side, and fucking 82,000 people proves it.
But Matt, is that
I actually thought that was only a joke.
If someone from Donnybrook going to the north side, is that the equivalent of going to the moon?
That's what I was just thinking. Fuck's sake, man.
What's I don't get the whole fucking north side, south side thing. We're all fucking Dublin people at the end of the day. We're all Irish.
Did you ever watch, Matt? Did you ever watch The Commitments?
I did, yeah.
Jesus, I'm
you were nearly in it, Bork.
That wasn't me bollocks. I was fucking 12 that day or something like that. But you
No,
remember
you weren't.
Jimmy Rabbit's famous speech?
Yeah.
The Irish, the Irish are the blacks of Europe.
The North Side Dublin.
Times have changed, lads. Times have fucking
Dublin
changed.
are the blacks of
that movie
Ireland.
was out in the 80s.
The
See,
North
black
Side
can be
are the
proud.
blacks of Alice, you know.
That movie was out in the 80s. We fucking moved on from that.
I'll be black and be proud. That's it.
You get in trouble for saying
Yeah,
shit like that nowadays.
Fucking great
Okay. Mike
movie.
Reedy, but this idea, do you think more? Well, that's true, actually. Yeah.
I agree with what the lads.
Mike Reedy, go on.
Matt
Should there be
Bowen,
more games played in Croke Park?
Right, I want to ask Matt Bowen the question. Seeing as he was at that game, where were you? Where were you seated at that game? Where were you in the stadium?
I was in the Davin stand.
So that's at the behind the goals. You're a long way from the pitch, are you? Is it viable to as a
No,
viewing?
no, I wasn't behind the goals. I was on the side. I was like up at the goal end, but I wasn't far from the pitch. Like I was on row S, so like
Okay.
lower end of the stand. The lower end of the stand.
Lads, it looked absolutely awesome. To be honest, it really did. I know the Hill 16 has all the history and it's never going to be closed in on that. How magnificent a stadium would that be if it was all the way around? It is a magnificent stadium anyway. And lads, it was a spectacle and something the Irish rugby and Irish sport should be proud of. The spectacle that they performed on Saturday. I'd be all for it. I don't care. Honestly, don't care where the fucking games are played. If I'm honest, I'd go to the moon to watch a game. So it doesn't matter to me. I travel. I don't mind traveling. I travel fucking here, there, and everywhere to games, our sports over the decades. So I would love it.
I'll tell you.
I get the RDS is Leinster's home.
Good point, I'll tell you.
They're never going to move away from the RDS, but in instances like that, why can't they have the odd game there or thereabouts just to have a fucking huge amount of people at a game? Even when they know they're going to get it.
I mean,
playing
could
a
be
test,
similar
playing
with
a test match against New Zealand, say.
You imagine a test match against
Hold
New
on,
Zealand.
Mike, would you stop with your interrupting?
Do you know what I mean?
Go
You'd
on,
have
Richard
82,000
Collins,
at that.
You see, everyone's speaking over Richard. Richard is getting served his tea and biscuits by his lovely wife Sarah, and he just wants to make a point. And you have Matt Boland and Mike Reedy talking over him. Richard, please go on.
No, I'm just saying, if they had a test match against the likes of New Zealand, bollocks, against the likes of New Zealand, and it's a massive cash flow income for the IRFU. It funds underage rugby. It funds the women's game. You know, if you look at it from that point of view, you know, one test maybe every 2 or 3 years, even the amount of money that brings in is colossal. And the GAA will be happy because they're getting probably 4 or 5 million out of it.
Right. Well, the GAA get a rental fee, which is just shy of $500,000. But now, gentlemen, this is the couple of things here. One, the IRFU get fuck all out of Heineken Cup games held in Croke Park. It's run by the EPCR. The EPCR share the spoils. The IRFU get a very, very small percentage of the takings of that. Leinster Rugby, the EPCR got the vast chunk of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but
the other thing is,
no matter where it's played, though, Peter, would that not be the case? If just played,
no matter where it's played,
it still wouldn't get if just played.
Mike, yeah, no, it could be played in Twickenham, it could be played in Bilbao, it could be played in Marseille, it could be played in Paris. Yeah. The EPCR run the Heineken Cup. They take the majority of the spoils, right? The other thing is, and this is very much a grey area, which I don't think an awful lot of people get, is that when you top your pools after all the pool games and you get home advantage, right? It's actually misleading in the wording if you look at the EP. So I'm such a nerd for this, but if you look, and I've asked a few people in the know on Twitter and all that, and they've come back to me. It's in the wording in the EPCR law book, rule book, or whatever you want to call it. It's home advantage. It's not stadium advantage, right?
Country.
So if Leinster top, it's your home advantage, country home advantage that you can play your game in. So you can then nominate the stadium you want to play in, okay? So let's have some far-fetched, fucking mad scenario where Munster reach a semi-final, right? Unlikely as that is, right? So let's say Munster reach a semi-final of a Heineken Cup, right?
We'll see.
And they top their pool, right? And they, I'm only fucking sorry, and they have home advantage, right? So Munster would have an option to play in Thomond Park, which, what's the capacity of Thomond? Is it 12, 13,000, 18,000 in Thomond? I don't know.
28 and a half.
Oh, is it that much? Okay.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's say Munster in a semi-final. They have the option to play in Thomond, 28,000 tickets, or they can play in Croke Park and sell it out, the same as Leinster did. Munster would easily sell out Croke Park during the semi-final of the Heineken Cup. 82,300 tickets to sell. Now, you weigh it up and you go, well, the Munster and the Munster Committee and Munster Rugby, the IRFU will go, lads, it's a no-brainer. You can sell 82,300 tickets if you play in Croker, or you can play in Thomond. Now, again, going back to this, it's home advantage or country advantage, not stadium advantage. So you'd be mad to fucking turn that down if you were a Munster. If you're a Munster Rugby, you'd be fucking crazy. You're missing out on so much money, you know. So that's anyway my tuppence worth. I think that more games, Richard, you touched on it. Matt, you touched on it. I think Mike, you did as well. The key games in the Heineken Cup, if provinces reach it won't be Connacht, it won't be Ulster for a few years yet, let's be honest. So it'll be either Leinster or Munster. But I do think if Munster got to a semi-final and they're playing the likes of Claremont or Toulouse or Toulon or whatever the fuck it is in next year or 2 or 3, they would choose to play in Croker because simply you're going to sell a fucking ticket. So why wouldn't you fucking do it? Yeah. That's all my rational thinking is behind that. So
if memory serves, I think Harlequins have done it. I'm going to Twickenham a couple of times.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes every sense. It allows more supporters to go to the game. You're growing the game by bringing people into the stadium. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it goes back to this exposure thing where we're trying to grow the game anyway.
Bums on seats create fucking everything.
Yeah, you bring a young lad or a young girl to that match.
Yeah, but then you see,
and he's going to go. The atmosphere is.
Yeah, but you see, gentlemen. Sorry, Richard. Yeah.
No, go ahead there, Peter. I'm finished.
Yeah. But then you see that comes back to the. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut across you, Richard. That then comes back to what you were saying, Richard, and what you were saying, Mike, and Matt. You said it as well. It comes back to this fucking stupid idea that they're trying to come up with. That's been, as Jeff said when he was on, this media-driven narrative that this neutral city venue, neutral city, not neutral team, not neutral country, neutral city team for the semi-finals. You're not going to fill the fucking stadiums. Matt, as you said, it was a record-breaking attendance at a semi-final, 82,000. The combined ticket sales for both semi-finals was just over 115,000. You're not going to get that level of attendance in a fucking neutral city where no one supports either team and people have to travel, spend money. Prices are jacked up, flights are jacked up, hotel prices are jacked up. It's not going to happen. It's a bad idea, and I might just write an article about it. Right, gentlemen, that's my semi-rant over on that. The games that happened last weekend, we had 2 semi-finals. We're way over the air, lads, so we'll briefly go through these. We had Mike Reedy, I'll go to you first. Matt, I'll go to you first because you're the Leinster fan. Leinster entertained Northampton in that aforementioned game in Croke Park. Leinster winning 20 points to 17, albeit squeaky bum time for the past 15-20 minutes on that. Leinster didn't really turn up in the second 40.
100%. I think they came out and scored an early try in the second half, and then just went to sleep after that. But I mean, luckily enough, their defense was quite good, and luckily enough that Northampton their handling errors were off the charts. It could have easily gone against us. I think Leinster are lucky they won, but not a great game in terms of performance wise. First half was okay. I mean, I 90% I'd say Leinster were playing it in the first half. You could see the occasion was big for both teams. None of the current players there, bar Keane Healy probably, and maybe a couple of others might have already played in Croke Park, but the majority of the team, like Caelan Doris had been in Croke Park many times, but never been on the actual pitch, and it's a massive place to go to, considering the history and everything that goes on there. It was a massive occasion, and me personally, I don't think they performed to the way they can do. The way they played against La Rochelle in the quarterfinals was nearly the perfect game for me. They were 90% in the first half and probably about 40% in the second half. They can't do that in the final. Not against Toulouse. They'll be slaughtered. But again, maybe at halftime they just said, look, let's kick it down a gear and see what happens. Not take any major risks and getting injuries or anything like that. Who knows? I don't know. From a spectator watching it in the stadium, it was a fantastic game. The atmosphere was unbelievable. I haven't seen an atmosphere like that in a very long time. It was great to see 82,000 Leinster fans pretty much get behind the team. There were very few Saints fans there. They were scattered here and there. There was a few on the hill that I saw, a few around the stadium, but I was speaking to a Saints fan and they got an allocation of 15,000 tickets and they sent 8 back. So technically there was 7,000 fans in the stadium, but it really didn't look like that at all. Look, it was great. It was great to be there. It was great to watch the game. It was great to get the result, but by far not a great second half and very much squeaky bum for the last 10, 15 minutes.
All right, okay. Mike Reedy, what did you think of it?
I thought it was a pretty decent game, to be fair. It was complete polar opposites to what I thought it would be. I would have thought, given that Leinster could be a bit ring rusty, not having played for 3 weeks, that they wouldn't have started to be more likely that they would have played better in the second half. But they came out of the blocks fairly quickly, to be fair, and scored 2 tries in the first half. I thought they were played okay. You have to expect Northampton are a decent side. You have to expect them to come into the game, and they were dreadful. Now, I would say Leinster need to learn a lesson here regarding not playing not having any game time for those players for 3 weeks prior to a big match like that. Now, it was a bit unfortunate that the 2 games that they played in between happened to be in bloody South Africa. So you don't want to be taking players there unnecessarily, and that all that travel involved. So it's a hard one. It's a hard one to get right. By the way, it was a hard thing for Leinster to.
Yeah.
And but I thought they played okay. They got the job done, and that's what it's all about. Semi-finals are about winning. It's not about performance. It's about fucking getting to the final. That's what it's all about. And they're in the final. I wouldn't have any. Yeah. Okay. You might say it was squeaky bum time a little bit, and it probably was, but they got the job done.
Great job. Okay, thanks, Mike. Richard, your thoughts?
Yeah, the only criticism I have is after Lowe's third try, they had their foot on Northampton's throat and they took it off him and let him back into the game. Yeah. That's the only criticism I'll have. They were clinical, is the only way I'll describe him in the first half. Gibson Park was incredible again. He's a live wire. It was a really good game. I was watching it originally on that TNT Sports or whatever the fuck you call it, and I had to turn it off because they actually had the sound turned down. The noise of the crowd you couldn't hear. All you could hear was Austin Healy droning on and on and on. So I ended up on RT.
Fuck's
sake. I had to switch it off as well.
It's just the man to put ire on the ire of your arse now, to be honest with you.
There's a Yeah, there's sorry, Richard. I'm conscious of time, Richard. That's all.
Oh yeah, drive on, yeah.
Just to appreciate the comments that people do. Dara Weston, the Liffey is the only hard border left in Ireland. Let's go away with that. Joe Lyons, there was a new caveat. There was a new caveat put into EPCR's rules a few years back that a semi-final must be held in a stadium with over 30,000 seats. So Ireland has two choices: Aviva or GAA. Yeah, I forgot about that one as well, Joe. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, he's actually right.
Last commentary before we briefly go on to your games. But yes, the way Leinster played in the second half, I'd say the cardiac department of the Mater Hospital were shitting themselves, and they were going to have a very busy night if Leinster didn't win. Yeah, very true, Gary. Yes. Okay. Right, we'll leave it at that. No, I'll tell you what, I just want to fly through these. I just want win, lose, draw, or whatever you think, right? So next weekend, Mike, can come to you. Interesting game that's going to precede all the URC games is the Bulls v Glasgow. If Glasgow lose that, it's going to kind of change things at the top. Anyway, Mike, Scarlets are entertaining Ulster.
I'm going to go with Ulster. Because I think Richie Murphy has turned them around, and I think they have backs to the wall. They're going to. I think I'll give them. I don't know what score will be, but I think Ulster will do it. I hope to do.
Okay, Matt Boland, Ulster away to Scarlets.
I'd hope they win, Ulster. They need it.
All right. Okay, Richard.
Yeah, there's a pulse up there, so just about. So I'll go with Ulster.
Okay, Richard, back to you. The Interpro, Munster are entertaining Connacht.
Munster. I'm going to go with Munster, but this normally backfires. We don't have a great record recently against Connacht, but yeah, I'll go with it. Munster win.
Okay. Matt Boland, the Interpro, Munster entertaining Connacht. Right, Mike Reedy.
Yeah, I think Munster coming back from South Africa with their tails flying high. I think they'll. I mean, obviously, if they're not weary from that travelling, they should. I think they should prevail there. Yeah.
Okay. Quick comment there from Mike Sheedy. How are you, Mike? Being Cork to GA Munster, if so, Leicester v Northampton very close. They have plain betting next game a few weeks' time. Yeah. Okay. Right. Last game, Mike Reedy. Leinster in the RDS v Ospreys. I'm looking forward to this. I haven't been at a game now in a while.
Oh, fucking Leinster will hammer them. That's a bonus point win for Leinster.
All right. Okay. Matt.
Yeah, bonus point win for Leinster.
Okay. Richard.
To quote Peter Martin, thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Family players only.
Right. Okay.
It's going to be
Okay.
4 hours only.
There you go. This is it. Okay, gentlemen, listen, we wrap it up there. We're approaching 18, 19 minutes overtime, as always, what we do, because we just have interesting stuff to talk about. My thanks to everyone who was watching, who voiced an opinion, who posted a comment. We try to get to them all, but sometimes it's not.
Mainly Dara Weston.
But mainly Dara Weston, Gregor, Joe, Megan, yeah, and others. I can't remember. But thank you all for watching, and thank you all for contributing. Mike Reedy, thank you. Matt Boland, thank you. Richard Holland, thank you. We shall see each other soon. Take care, gents. Thank you.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Enjoy the rest of your.
Good night, everybody, and thanks everybody for watching.
Good night, lads.
Good luck.